So I got to watching some clips last night, and I thought, you know what? I want to take the time to make a little video on something because I hear from a lot of people out there that Donald Trump, President Trump, is the biggest embarrassment of a president that we've ever had. He's the most embarrassing president, blah, 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 blah. His policies have done so much to undermine our country and undermine our democracy, X, Y, and Z. And to be honest, I think people have a little bit of amnesia. Or they were just so little they didn't pay too much attention to what was going on. I'm not sure which. I know I was only a kid when this guy was in office. But after seeing these clips, I thought it would be nice just to jog some people's memory on what a true embarrassment of a president genuinely looks like. And then we will talk about his policies. So let's take a look.
We must stop the terror. I call upon all nations to do everything they can to stop these terrorist killers. Thank you. Now watch this drive. Our enemies are innovative and resourceful, and so are we. They never stop thinking about new ways to harm our country and our people, and neither do we. In my State of the Union, or my speech to the nation, whatever you want to call it, speech to the nation, I know the human being and fish can coexist peacefully. And America needs a military where our best and brightest are proud to serve and proud to stay. If you're a single mother with 2 children, which is the toughest job in America as far as I'm concerned, and you're working hard to put food on your family, rarely is the question asked, is our children learning? Too many good docs are getting out of business. Too many OBGYNs aren't able to practice their love with women all across this country. See, I don't think you can be. There's an old saying in Tennessee, I know it's in Texas, probably in Tennessee, that says, fool me once, shame on you. If fool me, we can't get fooled again.
Because they might want to rethink.
Oh, that's not good. Maybe he'll play with the band.
He cracks me up when he's dancing, and he's done it so many times in public. He obviously trying to fit in.
This is just a few of the what we'll call Bushisms. Okay, give you another one. I didn't even try to find the clip, but I saw it many years ago. This idiot in an interview said that some of America's greatest imports come from other countries. What? I'm pretty sure that's the definition of an import. Something that came in from another country because it was imported. And anything that's exported is what we make and send to other countries to sell on their markets. So, yeah, Bush, I'm pretty sure all of America's greatest imports came from other countries. Jesus. I mean, let's just run through the list of what this guy does. So first of all, he wants to call on the world to help fight and stop the terrorists. You got to stop the terror, okay? Now watch my golf drive. Yeah, I'm sure that was appropriate after you just sent a message out to the rest of the world to show off your golf game skills. Oh yeah, bravo, man. You deserve 2 thumbs up for that one. You know, and this whole dancing shuffle crap that we just saw right here at the end. I mean, really? That's becoming of a respectable leader to go around the world looking like frickin' Howdy Doody and a dumbass? The guy was an absolute embarrassment. An embarrassment as a president. Hands down. Hands down, he made a fool of himself on a regular basis. Now, so a lot of people say Trump sticks his foot in his mouth, makes a fool of himself sometimes on Twitter, blah, 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 blah. This guy was literally running around the world as our leader making a fool of himself. And he was so bad, you got people throwing their freaking shoes at him. Seriously, throwing their shoes at him. So, no one's done that to Trump yet, okay? I mean, there's a lot of stuff that's happened, since Trump's been president, but no reporter, and Trump's been attacking the press on a regular basis, has had the guts to take off their shoes and hurl them at this man, okay? That shows you just how much people thought Bush was a joke and didn't like the guy, okay? Plain and simple. But Bush was a complete embarrassment to this country as a president. Now, that being said, I get a lot of you out there now going to come up with the argument, well, that's just somebody being an idiot and making a fool of himself. But what about all the destructive policies that Donald Trump has done? What about, all these radical things that Donald Trump has done to undermine our democracy, to hurt our middle class, and blah, 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 blah. Oh, okay. Slow down. Pump the brakes. I said this would be two parts. I showed you how much of a joke this guy was first. Now, let's examine some of his policy for just a moment. Here's an article from Vanity Fair. Let's just dive right into this. When we look back someday at the catastrophe that was the Bush administration, we will think of many things. The tragedy of the Iraq War, the shame of Guantanamo and Abu Ghraib, the erosion of civil liberties. The damage done to the American economy does not make the front page headlines every day, but the repercussions will be felt beyond the lifetime of anyone reading this page. I can hear an irritated counterthrust already. The president has not driven the United States into a recession during his almost 7 years in office. Unemployment stands at a respectable 4.6%. Well, fine. But the other side of the ledger groans with distress. A tax code that has become hideously based in favor of the rich. A national debt that will probably have grown 70% by the time this president leaves Washington, a swelling cascade of mortgage defaults, a record near $850 billion trade deficit, oil prices that are higher than they have ever been, and a dollar so weak that for an American to buy a cup of coffee in London or Paris or even the Yukon becomes a venture in high finance, and it gets worse. After almost 7 years of this president, the United States is less prepared than ever to face the future. We have not been educating enough engineers and scientists, people with the skills we need to compete with China and India. We have not been investing in the kinds of basic research that made us the technological powerhouse of the late 20th century. And although the president now understands, or so he says, that we must begin to wean ourselves from oil and coal, we have, on his watch, become more deeply dependent on both. Alright, so that was a pretty long article. I went ahead and read through it, spliced it up to save some time here, and I'm just going to give you the breakdown, the gist. So basically it goes on to describe Bush's actions were actually worse than Herbert Hoover's policies pre-Franklin Roosevelt. Now, obviously, if you don't know the history about Herbert Hoover and the Great Depression and Franklin Roosevelt, let me give you a brief recap. During the Herbert Hoover administration, things got so bad into the country going into the Great Depression that these little slum villages started being built up all over the country, which people started referring to as Hoovervilles. It was so bad under a Republican House, Republican Congress, and Republican Congress, Republican Senate, Republican President, okay, that they literally named these slum villages after their beloved Mr. President, okay? And FDR had to come in and clean up a big mess. And because he did such a good job, it's probably understandable how that guy got 4 terms in office, because he certainly turned the country back around. Now, what it also goes on to say is that by the time this was all over, we were fully on the way to paying off the debt pretty much, okay? We weren't really going to have much left. Now, whether or not that would have actually happened, probably not, because regardless of who had kept office, a big part of Clinton's success back in the 90s fell on the internet boom. There was a big boom in the market because of how innovative the internet had started becoming, and of course now internet today makes internet in the 90s look like peanuts, but that's another story. Either way, that contributed to a lot of Bill Clinton's success. And right around the time Bush got elected, that boom was pretty much, it was going flat. And so as a result, the market started to drop a little bit, okay? Now, it goes on to say that was the perfect time to try and exercise some Keynesian economics, to take the money that we had in our surplus and start trying to reinvest things like that into our business and society here, not through tax cuts, but by trying to invest in the internet and in science and technology and things like that to try and keep this growth going. What did Bush do with it? He passed tax cuts. Wow. That's lovely. That's lovely. And then, of course, then he passes tax cuts, gets us into a war with a country that did not attack us. He didn't even catch the guy who supposedly attacked us on 9/11, Osama bin Laden. And by supposedly, I'm not denying that he didn't have a hand in it. I'm just simply saying that was the guy who attacked us, and he goes after Saddam Hussein. Now, of course, he tried to chase bin Laden for a little while, never caught him. Okay, that happened under Obama. And then at the Obama administration, there was a lot of people, even Jesse Ventura was noted for saying, yeah, I wouldn't want to be this president, have to come in and clean up this guy's mess. And of course, Republicans for the longest were trying to come out and bash that Obama was the cause of even more of this big recession that hit, right at the early part of his presidency and whatnot. And of course, the Democrats and Obama are fighting back. Oh, it's Bush, it's Bush. Oh, quit blaming it on Bush. Quit blaming it on Bush. You need to take responsibility for your actions and blah, 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 blah. Okay? And trying to give everyone the holier-than-thou lecture that it really wasn't dear sweet Mr. Bush's fault. Well, that's a load. That's a load, okay? Do I agree with all of Obama's policy? No, he tried to push free trade crap through as well. And I wasn't a fan of that. But nonetheless, Bush was an absolute economic disaster, got this country involved in wars we should have never been involved in, and he was a complete joke and an embarrassment that represented us all around the world to all these other countries. And again, proof of that, just go back and watch those videos. So while you may have thought he was just some happy-going little, idiot dancing and shuffling around, no, he was very destructive behind the scenes. It was the Bush administration, along with Nancy Pelosi and the Democrats, who got the frickin' Patriot Act pushed through. Okay? Yeah, those corporate Democrats, they got the Patriot Act. That's what came after and started targeting your Fourth Amendment rights in the Constitution and the Bill of Rights against unwarranted search and seizure. You can thank George W. Bush for that one. And again, by the way, it was part of that Patriot Act and this FISA court abuse and spying on people that they used to spy on the Trump campaign with a false dossier. So when you say that Donald Trump's coming after American civil liberties and rights and so on and so forth, while there may be arguments to be made with some of his attacks every now and then, while I find some of his attacks perfectly credible on this corporate status quo because of things like I'm describing right now, each person can make their own decision on how they feel about what Trump's doing. But the fact is, as far as him being the big undermine to our civil liberties, Bush and Obama were doing these same things because Bush started that with the Patriot Act and Obama continued it. And according to people like Edward Snowden, only made it worse. So this is not new. This is not some breaking news. This is not groundbreaking. And if anything, if Trump's doing it, he's only continuing policies set by his last two predecessors. Okay? It's not some big new news. If you really believe that, you don't study the history too much, which is why I'm making videos like this. Because people need to see this. People need to understand that people listen to too much mainstream news media. And of course, the mainstream news media is making it out like, oh, this is new. We've never seen anything like this before. You're full of it. You're full of crap. You've seen this plenty of times and you know it. You saw it under Bush. You saw it under Obama. Okay? Not only also, as referenced in that article, did he pass the Patriot Act, look what went on at Guantanamo Bay under the Bush administration. Oh, but of course, his nice little clever vice president, his little clever vice president, Dick Cheney, has unique words to describe torture called enhanced interrogation. No, so it's not torture, it's just enhanced interrogation. You're full of crap. Full of it. Full of it. Full of it. Okay? Now, while some of the torture methods that this particular group I'm about to describe used went beyond what we did at Guantanamo Bay, let me make one thing clear. Post-World War II, Japanese tortured people that they captured and must try to get information out of them. And one of the techniques that they used was waterboarding. Now, if you want to know what happened to the people responsible for ordering that, go do a Google search. Let me tell you this. They didn't live very much longer. Because they were considered war criminals. And they didn't live very much longer. And it wasn't the Japanese who killed them either. Oh, no. It was an international court that ordered them basically a death sentence. And while, again, some of their tactics went beyond what happened, at Guantanamo, I think they did things like putting bamboo shoots underneath your fingernails and crap like that. Waterboarding was one of their techniques. Oh, it was. So it's torture. And the country that's, of course, under old George W., that's running around the world giving everybody some freedom juice. We're going to liberate you. We're a country of freedoms and liberties, and we're going to let you have a little bit of it. We're going to torture your asses too. Oh, that's just great. That's absolutely lovely. Okay? And of course, Trump did get a deferment from going into military as well, but of course, the big chicken hawk warmongers like Bush and Cheney, yeah, when it was their time to serve, no, they didn't want to do that. No. But they don't mind sending your kids off to war. Gotta go kill some terrorists, boys. Enlist. Full of crap. Full of crap. So, again, I'm not trying to sway anyone's opinion one way or the other on President Trump here. Like the guy, don't like the guy. I mean, that's up to you. Okay? But to pretend that all these different things just started underneath Donald Trump, need to go back and do some homework. This is a problem that's been going on underneath our last two presidents. There's just, they talked about it a lot more under Bush than they did under Obama. Obama was, of course, a media darling, so you didn't hear very much about him. But this whole thing really ramped up and got started with George W. Bush. Okay? And so, again, if you really don't like the things that Trump is doing, he's just following the role of his predecessors. Now, my final point. If you don't like what you're seeing out of Donald Trump, and you realize now that these are the same things that happened under the Obama administration, the same things that happened under the Bush administration, let me impart a word of advice here to you out there and to the voters of this country. Okay? What you're seeing that you don't like is the modern day corporate status quo, business as usual. And it does not matter if you're a Democrat or Republican, they keep pushing these same warmongering, corporate favoring policies through on a regular basis. Don't matter if there's an R after the last name or a D after the last name, okay? Everybody thought Obama was going to be this great change. Took us from 2 wars into like 7 other conflicts, okay? That he didn't get done what he said he was going to get done. You know, there was a lot of promises Obama made, and we didn't get them. Bush made a lot of promises, and we didn't get them. Trump's made a lot of promises. We've got a couple, haven't gotten most of them. Okay? So again, if you don't like what you're seeing, remember that in this upcoming primary. Remember that, because there's only, by my count, really, 3 candidates who are running that are not playing ball for the status quo and that are trying to fight back and be a people's candidate. Okay? That'd be Gabbard, Yang, and Sanders. Okay? Those are the 3 that I really have any sort of confidence in, regardless of where I stand with them on every single policy. They at least have the best intentions in mind for the people as a whole. And I don't think you're going to corrupt them that easy. Okay? Definitely, arguably, I'd say you probably not even be able to corrupt all of them. There's one that I have in question I'm not going to speak to. There's just a personal opinion I have, and I don't care to really elaborate on it, but I'm a little hesitant that they may be slightly corruptible. Possibly because they keep pushing a lot of mainstream media talking points about things that have completely been debunked. A lot of the intelligence propaganda that has been debunked, and yet they keep pushing it, which makes me think they're slightly more towards status quo in a lot of things than people think that they are. But that's a different story. Okay, but either way, those are the top and the best 3. So if you go and vote for a Pete Buttigieg, if you go and you vote for an Elizabeth Warren, if you go and you vote for Kamala Harris, Cory Booker, Joe Biden, any of these people that are still out there hanging in the race, you go vote for these people. Just understand they're part of the same corporate status quo structure. And while you may loathe President Trump, you may get him out of office, you won't have to deal with the tweeting president, the big orange cheese puff, you won't have to deal with all these things. Yeah, great, that's wonderful. Just understand, behind the scenes, the same deep state and the same old swamp is going to be pushing the same agenda that they were pushing for 16 years before Donald Trump. So just keep that in mind when you go to the polls. Thank you for tuning in to this episode of the Independent Report. If you liked the video, please give us a thumbs up and like the video. Also, if you have any questions or comments that you'd like to ask, or topics you'd like us to cover, please drop a comment in the comment box below. And also, please subscribe to the channel, and if you do subscribe, ring that bell so you'll stay up to date when we drop new videos and you'll get notifications of it. And also, please support us on Patreon. Funds are going to be used to grow and improve this channel so we can reach more and more people and spread the message that the mainstream media doesn't want to tell people. We hope you'll tune in next time.